Good morning, everybody. Am I
Morning.
audible?
Yeah, but we are hearing echo.
What about now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this webinar on Vultures of India. So today we have a very special speaker from our own Bombay Natural History Society. And to move further, I would request my program officer, Mr. Nandakishore Dudhe, to please tell a bit more about BNHS-EIACP. Nandakishore, sir.
Uh, Gargi, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir. You are.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Gargi. Welcome to all our Envis family member. I am Nan Kishore Dude, Program Officer. I look after Envis department. Now the Envis has been changed as a Environmental Information Awareness Capacity Building and Livelihood Program. It's a EIACP program. It's a program resource partner on avian ecology at Bombay Natural History Society. It's the EICP program was established in 1996 and it's funded by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The objectives of this program is to publish and distribute the BSOROS newsletter. And this newsletter we will publish thrice in a year. It's cover the articles related to birds, related to mostly the popular article we will publish in our BSOROS newsletter and it's a free of cost. We will send the hard copy and soft copy free of cost to our EICP members. We have also a dedicated website, and yeah, on our website we will upload all our regular activities, like if there is any quiz competition, if there is any drawing competitions, then every month we have celebrated the environment days, like the World Environment Days. Right now, in next week, we are announcing the Asian waterbird census. So all the information related to this activity we will upload on our website. It also we will organize the Green Skill Development Program. This program is basically for the unemployed youth. Uh, and once the unemployed youth will complete this program, then he will get a skill related to the subject. Basically, we have in 2019-20 we have conducted around 4 courses, which include bird identification program, bird protection program, then key biodiversity area, and then PBR, People Biodiversity Register. All the 4 program got good response, and we have trained around 137 students, and also they got the job in their respective subject. So these are all about Envis program, sorry, EICP program. So I request Ms. Gargi to do continue, please. Please do continue.
Thank you. Am I audible to everyone again?
Yes, Gargi, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So I'll tell you a bit more about our speaker today, but before that, just wanted to tell you all about vultures. I know sir is going to take a detailed webinar on vultures, but the main reason why we wanted to come up with this webinar was because of what is happening to the vultures of India today, and why is it important to save the vultures. So I will introduce our speaker for today. He is Mr. Sachin Ranade, sir. He is a biologist at BNHS since 2001, and he has done extensive nationwide surveys on vulture. He has studied their biology and the role that they play in the environment, and also he has had a major role in establishment of the vulture conservation breeding centers across India. So currently, he is working as a senior manager looking after the Vulture Conservation Breeding Center at West Bengal and Assam. And his work involves selection of wild vultures for captive breeding, husbandry, and care of vulture stock in captivity, preparation for introduction programs. These are his major tasks. While advocacy and awareness, he also carries out a lot of field study in vulture safe zone programs. And and on top of all these things, he's an artist and he takes great interest in teaching drawing crafts to young people in the villages. And I think this is truly commendable as community science and conservation go hand in hand. So now, without further ado, I'll ask our speaker to please continue, and we look forward to this interesting session. Thank you.
Thank you, Gargi. Thank you, Nandakishore. And thanks a lot to Bombay Naturalistic Society for kindly giving me this opportunity to talk all so many people and all enthusiastic who really like to know something new about vultures, something more about vultures. And thank you all of you for giving your precious time. At the same time, I would like to thank my colleagues, my other friends who are working in the field right now. And on behalf of all this vulture program, I'm talking about vultures. So I would start with my presentation. Um, as Gargi has introduced me, that I am working for so many years on vultures particularly, and I have now interest and some knowledge, I will say, about vultures. And vultures are really fantastic birds. Um, is my screen visible now?
No, sir. Now it is.
Okay. Um, so I will be talking about vultures, and vultures are really wonderful birds. I mean, they are called as the king of sky, and no doubt, when a vulture fly over your head, it has such a long, such a big wingspan that you are just amazed to see such a wonderful bird. And um, today we will be talking about the biodiversity of vultures and BNHS efforts to save vultures in India. Um, is it visible now? My slides? Hello?
Yes, yes, it is visible, sir. You can make it full
Okay.
screen.
Okay. Okay. So you are seeing slender bill vulture, one of the rarest vulture in the among the gyps vultures in India, especially. And these are very few of them, and now we are breeding them successfully. Um, talking in brief about BNHS, that I hope all of you gathered here must be knowing that BNHS is working in different fields on insects, amphibia, birds, and mammals, almost all kind of animals, especially wild animals, and plants we are working on. And whatever we are working on, we publish it in the journals, or we like to distribute what we have gained, what we know. And that sharing is really wonderful. And I hope most of you are member of BNHS. If not, kindly do join us. Talking about my interest, I like to work on different taxa, right from insects up to mammals, birds, and BNHS specialty is that ringing program. And at vulture program also, we ring some birds. Here you can see Malayan night heron was ring, or here you can see PTT, that is a transmitter, small transmitter, and such transmitter was fitted to the Pallas eagle. We have put PTTs on the vultures, which we have released. And I hope that everybody will agree with me that we Indians like birds right from a long time. So this is one mural you can see. It is almost 3 to 4 thousand year old mural, and where you can see a fish eagle eating fish, and below there is one bird that is holding a lotus flower. And as it is said, Rajahams used to feed on, particularly on the lotus. So we had knowledge of birds, and vulture was not exception to that. This wonderful painting was done by Raja Ravi Verma, and this is one of my favorite painting because in those days also it says that we like all kind of forms of life. We had great respect to the different birds, different species of birds, which even today we say that they are not so good because see, nowadays we have forgotten a lot many things. But in our earlier days, few hundred years back, our culture has great respect for vultures. Talking about today's situation, India has a rich biodiversity, and vultures are not um, exception for that. So here you can see 9 species of vultures. So those in green are all the gyps vulture. That means they are the typical vultures with a very long neck, and these vultures like to be in a flock. That means they like to be in a group. Whereas there are 4 vultures below. Those are also, some of them like to be in flock, while the bearded vulture or a king vulture like to be solitary. That means one or two you can see at a time. The unfortunate thing is that out of these 9 species of birds found in India, now 9 species, particularly vultures in India, 8 of them are endangered at some or the other level. They are endangered. So those in red are critically endangered. That means if we won't help them, they won't survive for long and they will get extinct from the earth. And that's why it is very necessary that we should work on vultures. We should care for vultures. So let us have some um, wonderful photograph of our vultures. There are two kind of vultures. That means some vultures visit India in the winter time. Those are migratory birds. So they spend time in winter and then again they go back from where they have come. So from where the vultures are coming, right from all over the globe, almost they are coming to India. And especially this cinereous vulture is a really wonderful bird, wonderful migrant. It is a very big bird, and you can see it has all dark plumage. That means all dark feathers. And just like a monk, this bird used to have the black robe, and that's why their scientific name is Aegypus monaches. That means monk, it has a black robe and it has a goggle like thing. So that's why this is a very wonderful birds, but it is not coming in big number. But yeah, they are visiting India in the winter, and here you can see it in a flight. So it is very easy to identify the cinereous culture because it is the robust one, largest one, and if you will see it in a flight, then you will see all dark feathers, all dark plumage, and in a very good light or with a very good um, binoculars, you may see its pinkish marking on its face, especially near its ear and around the eyes. The color are different, and probably you may see its feet also. But otherwise, this is a bird, a very huge bird, soaring about you above your head, and it may be. I mean, it. You may get fascinated if you will see a cinereous vulture flying over your head. And especially in Western India, these birds come in a small group, small flock. But otherwise, in the eastern side of India, there are hardly 2, 3 such birds are seen. This is one of the wonderful bird. Most of you might have recognized it. It is a bearded vulture. I saw first time the bearded vulture and I was really amazed because I have heard only stories about it, and I hope you will also get interested about its habits and habitat. Habitat means it lives in high Himalayas, so it is very rare bird for the people living in the other part of India. But in Himalayas, there are good chances that you will come across a bearded vulture. And as its name suggests, bearded, it has really a beard. And it is really wonderful bird. It is a miracle because these are the bird using cosmetics. Can you believe it? These birds use red clay, and after rubbing their body against this red clay, their color gets sometimes darker. So it is a very wonderful thing. Especially all vultures are really wonderful. They have wonderful thinking capability, and that's why I really admire this group of birds. So talking about bearded vulture, these vultures are such a wonderful birds that they can digest the bones. In high Himalayas, the food is scarce, and as there are some other species of vultures are also there. So, for example, Himalayan griffons are there, and if there are 100 Himalayan griffons coming and feeding on a small cow carcass or goat carcass or wild goat carcass, then hardly there is going to be some food for the bearded vulture, isn't it? But that is not problem for the bearded vulture. Bearded vulture can eat the bones. So what it does, that it can take a small, not a small, take a, hello, the bearded vulture can lift a bone, especially large bone like a femoral bone or some larger part, and it can take it to the air. And then from a particular point, the vulture drop the bone on some particular rock. And when the bone fall on that particular rock, it gets shattered. Then this vulture again will descend down and it feed on the small splinters of the bones. And that's how it feed itself. And that's why this vulture is very wonderful. It is not the case that the vulture immediately, that means especially the young birds, immediately will acquire this skill. So they see their parents how they are doing, or the other mature birds, adult birds, and they repeat this act, and slowly this bird get uh, mastery in the breaking of these bones. So these are really wonderful birds, solitary birds living in the high altitude and in Himalayas. This is one of the important bird, as the head is very nice colored red color. It is commonly called as a red-headed vulture. But in earlier days, it was also called as a king vulture. And I need not say more about why it is a king vulture, because this is among a flock of say 100 vultures feeding on a single cow carcass. There used to be hardly one or two vultures with a red head and a very nice robe, you can say. So naturally, people used to call them as a king of vultures. Um, Scientifically, these are the solitary birds. That's why they are one or two, and they are territorial also. And these vultures have very nice red head and loose skin around their neck. So flap like things are there. And this one was photographed in third. So this bird is found almost all over India, but as it is a solitary, and already it was in few in number, so this is now a critically endangered bird. So its population has been declined now. So this is a wonderful photograph taken by my colleague Dr. Rohan, and here you can see that if king vulture is flying over, then you can see white patches, and those are the thigh patches. So compared to the cinereous vulture, you can see some white patches in this black color bird, and if lucky, if there is a good light, you can see its red head also. And that's how you can identify a king vulture, a red-headed vulture, from the other birds. A very typical bird. It is also a black color, may be confusing between the white back flock, but once it start moving or you notice its red head, then it is unmistakable. That's how you can identify a king vulture. Coming to the smallest species of a vulture. So it is a Egyptian vulture. Although the name is Egyptian, there is one race that is staying in India throughout the year. So there are two races of Egyptian vulture you can see in India. So its scientific name is a Percnopterus, and um, the Gingianus subspecies or race can be seen throughout the year in India, whereas the main species, that is Percnopterus can be seen throughout the in the winter only in India. So most of the time, this vulture is seen more in number in northern India. But you must have heard about some birds visiting the temple in South India, and that was the Egyptian vultures. So this bird in Egypt was very much dear to the pharaohs. That means to the priest and the king. So Egyptian culture has a great respect for this sorry Egyptian vulture, and that's why it was called as a pharaoh chicken. So just it has a small size, that's why it is called as a pharaoh chicken. When adult, this bird is completely white with black primaries, and it has a yellow face. These are very sorry. These are very interesting bird. When young, the juveniles look brownish, and as it matures, it turn from brown to white in colors. And excuse me, these birds get their yellow face or yellow color from a pigment from the animal feces, and that's how these birds utilize the food in nature. And that's why these birds are also very intelligent. They can use some dung and get their skin brightly colored. They have another very important feature that the scientists saw one of the Egyptian vulture using tool. So in the all animal kingdom, there are very few examples of using tools, like chimpanzee using it, gorilla using it, some other primates using tool to eat ants or some insect. But these vultures took a small stone in their beak and throw it on the egg of an ostrich, and that's how they were successful in breaking the ostrich egg, and that's how intelligently they got their food. So these are also very curious birds, very interesting birds. This is a adult bird which has a completely white coloration with black stripe. Now coming to the five species which are from the genus Gyps, and these are the typical birds. So these are the I can say very important birds for the mankind. I hope all of you agree that the vultures evolved along with us. They were there for thousands of years on the earth, and when the man started its agriculture, they got they combined the forces with the mankind. Why so? Because just after starting the agriculture practices, human beings started doing animal farming. And in those days, when an animal used to die, these vultures used to come and feed on the dead animals. And that's how they help to the mankind, and they help us in the progress. So this is a wonderful bird. This is a Himalayan griffon. It is the biggest bird in India or Indian subcontinent, you can say. When adult, the bird is very beautiful, whitish in color with black primaries. And this photo was taken in Himachal. The adult bird look very much whitish, but when it comes to the plains, so here you can see different kind of plumages. And on the right hand corner, downside, you can see the juvenile. It has a darker color. But as the bird passes through different phases, like when it is a first year bird, it is called as a juvenile. As the bird become older, from second year to fifth year, it is called as sub-adult. So it start changing in feathers, and finally, as the earlier slide was there, the bird become completely white, and it is a adult bird. So here different plumages you can see, and when in the plains in winter time the bird visit, most of them are immature. So all these birds you are seeing, these are immature. They are dark chocolate in color, and they have streaking on their coverts. So these are the Himalayan griffons. And this particular photo is important for me because most of the time when there is some cases of poisoning or something, these are the birds which are victimized. And we have saved some birds and we have put a ring. And interestingly, after a couple of years, the same bird again come to our place. It made near, and this was a rare moment when I saw a bird that I had saved a couple of years back. So these are the Himalayan vultures. They have a whitish head, but not very white, a dirty white head, and dark brownish or chocolate color their wings. Compared to the Himalayan griffon, a similar bird visit India in winter, and it is a Eurasian griffon, or nowadays we call it as a griffon vulture. So, if you will see it in the desert landscape, you cannot easily identify from the garbage or dead and dying animals and the landscape there, because it has a similar color, kind of a khaki color or kind of a fulvous color to be precise. That means it is a more reddish compared to the Himalayan griffon, and it has a very dark black color seal. So that means that is the part near its beak. We'll see it afterward. So in a desert landscape, it is very difficult to locate the bird, but this bird I had seen in West Bengal, and very easily I could locate it in the flock of other birds which were Himalayan griffins. So here you can very easily see the color difference between Himalayan griffons and Eurasian griffon. So Eurasian griffon is more reddish in color, and that's why its name is Gyps fulvus. So here can see a good photograph of a fulvous vulture. This bird was rescued and released back to the wild. So it has a very white color neck, a very dark nose. That means cere, C-E-R-E, cere, and a darker beak. And this bird was released with a wing tag and a ring in its leg. Now talking about the remaining last three birds, which are gyps vultures. So there were 9 species we were looking at. Out of them, 4 were represented by single species. 5 were represented by a by 5 of them were from genus Gyps, and from this genus Gyps, 2 were griffons. One was Himalayan griffon, other was Eurasian griffon. Remaining 3 are whiteback vulture, also called as Oriental white rump vulture, slender bill vulture, and long bill vulture, also called as the Indian vultures. So talking about these 2 vultures, for long time people were considering these are from the same species. So Dr. Salim Ali mentioned this bird, slenderbill, as a Himalayan long-billed vulture. So they were considered as a subspecies. But recently, that means after 2000, scientists found considerable proof to separate them and to elevate them to the species level. And that's why these species are, this long-billed was split between the long-billed vulture or Indian vulture, Gyps indicus, and slender-bill vulture, that is the Gyps tenuirosis. So here you can see a very dark black shiny neck dark black beak. And these are the characters of the slender bill compared to the grayish neck of a long bill, and almost all beak and series turning yellowish in adult in long bill vulture or Indian vulture. And the whiteback vulture is a very typical vulture. Earlier, it was considered as a pseudo gyps. That means in tail feather count, it has a 6 feathers on one side, whereas the other all gyps species like a slender bill and other birds have 14 tail feathers. Here you can see the slender bill vulture. So you can see the dark black beak. It is found in northern India, especially in Assam, and few birds can be seen in the Tarai region between Nepal and India. A small population has been found in Cambodia also. So it is a rarest bird. Slender bill vulture is a rarest gyps. Uh, we can have a small clipping. I hope you can see it. If not, let me know. So the first bird you are seeing here is the Himalayan griffon, slightly larger than these birds, and this is a slender bill vulture. So a completely black neck and black beak. Featherless head is a typical feature of this bird. Whereas this is the long-billed vulture. It has a grayish head and small whitish hairs are there, and color is also slightly different than the slender bill vulture. So while in flight, the long-billed vulture or Indian vulture will have this kind of wing. In the case of slender bill vultures, you can see here the wings are pinch, and that's why you can separate the two species. While handling the bird, you have to be very much careful. But this photo I would like to particularly to show you. You can see the characters, the long-billed vulture. It has a completely yellowish bill, which you can see in the slender bill vultures. And here there are the wings. So these are the primary wings, secondaries, and the small feathers which are covering the primaries and secondaries are called as a coverts. So all these characters help us to identify a bird. So comparing the slender bill with long-billed vulture, here you can see the long-billed vulture, and the long-billed vultures, as you can see, are the cliff nesters. So whenever you will see a bird, especially a bird looking brownish in color, nesting in the cliff, there are chances that it is a long-billed vulture. The adult have yellowish beak and grayish neck. Here you can see them. They are nesting on a cliff. The one of the individual, I know it is a male, but otherwise one of the individual bring the nesting material. The other bird would like to help him in adjusting the nest material, and both of them take care of their nest. Both of them take part in the incubation. Both of them feed their young birds. So vulture society is a very much developed society, and both of them take care of their young birds. It is a wonderful society. Although we call vulture culture is a kind of a bad thing, but still I would like to mention that vultures are really wonderful birds. They pair for life. So once they like a mate, they have a faith in its partner, they continue for throughout the life. And this is the last species of vultures. This is the smallest among the gyps vulture. This is the whiteback vulture. And as I have said that this was considered as a pseudo gyps because it has a 6 feathers in its tail. So 6 pair of feathers. So it has 12 feathers in the tail. Um, Whiteback vulture is a really wonderful vulture if you'll see it in because the color contrast. The bird has very wonderful color combination. It has only two colors, but black and white have so many beautiful color shades, and these are very well arranged. You can see a white band, a very big uh, band. You can see this is a completely white color, and if you see it from the back side, then the rump will be visible. It is a white in color, and that's why its name is white back vulture or white rump vulture. And the primaries look silvery color, silver gray color is there, and the rest of the feathers are black. And that's how very easily you can identify a white back vulture. But that is a coloration of adult. There are a lot of confusion while identifying the birds, and especially the gyps vultures, because all the gyps vultures have brownish young ones. So here you can see the brown color white back vulture. These are the juveniles. You can identify a juvenile with its cuff and dark brown color, and you can identify them as a species whiteback because of their shape of their beak and the other coloration of the belly feathers. So that's how you can identify the vultures. So we have seen 9 species of vultures, and you must have noticed that all these vultures have a very powerful beak and powerful talon. The reason is that the vultures are evolved from raptors, or raptors. All of the ancestor was looking like a raptor. That means raptors means the bird which hunt, especially in the daytime. And for hunting or for their the meat eating, the bird is less with it has a very powerful beak to tear the meat or to kill its prey and to tear the meat. So it has a sharp talon also. And these characters are still retained by the vultures. But as I have said, that vultures are really wonderfully evolved birds. So vultures don't kill any animal, but they just take advantage of the carcasses. So in nature, there used to be carcasses of wild animals, and when the human evolution started, humans started providing it a lot of food in the form of dead livestock. And that's how the vultures get associated with mankind. And as they are taking advantage of the dead animals, maybe it livestock or maybe wild animal, and they have just retained their sharp beak so that they can take advantage of the carcass, they can feed on the meat, and they have developed one important feature, that is there is a small bag like or sack like thing below their neck. It is um, a small bag where the vulture can hastily store some meat, and then it can fly away. In case of particular the parent vultures, the vulture can eat very fast. It can take almost 1/5 of the weight of its own. So vulture can feed on 1 to 2 kg of meat. It can store it in the small bag called crop, and then the vulture can go back to its nest. It can regurgitate and give the meat to its young ones. So these are really wonderful birds. They are developed for scavenging life. That means there is no guarantee that there will be carcasses every day. So when there is a food, the vultures can take advantage. Being larger in body, they can, and being in a big flock, they can really dominate the feeding site. They can go, they can feed themselves well, and then they can take rest. The vultures are very clean and neat birds that you may not expect, but after every meal, the vulture like to take a bath so that it can clean its body. And the nature has made vulture a different bird compared to the other birds. How so? Because vultures have long neck, and mostly it is naked. There are very few feathers on its head and neck. That's why while feeding, these feathers are least soiled. And when taking bath, the vulture can get rid of the all dirt. And that's how the vulture keep it very clean. And being in a group, the bird get lot of advantages that once there is a food, the vulture understand that, okay, everybody is going in this direction. I also should go there and explore what is there. And that's how they take advantage of their group. The group of bird is called as flock. So vultures are flock loving birds. I was slightly, I can say, lucky that I was able to see so many birds, so many vultures in one place. Otherwise, nowadays the condition is that even if people will say see some 5 to 10 birds together, 10 vultures together, they will start thinking that I have seen a very huge flock. But no, in earlier days there used to be hundreds of birds together, and that's how the bird has thrived on this earth. We have talked a lot about vultures, that they look in this way, they feed on that way, vultures are this and that. But have you imagined that if there are no vultures, what will happen? Isn't it? If we won't save the vultures, what will happen? So the thing is that there will, as the vultures are the most efficient scavengers, their niche will be taken by some other animal, and there are a lot of other animals. The commonest animal, especially in India, after the vulture is dog. And the problem is that the dogs are living with human being. So if a dog gets some disease, then it is naturally going to carry it among itself, its community, and it will be bringing it to the human being also. And the diseases from mammals to mammals can be spread very easily. That's why um, the population of increasing dog is a kind of headache to the mankind also. The best example is the rabies. As the drug or vaccine is getting a lot of subsidies from government, that's how we can control the rabies. And unfortunately, India is the capital of rabies, isn't it? So if we want to control the rabies, then we have to pay for that. Although we are not directly paying from our pocket, our government is paying. And ultimately, how the government is being run? It is running on the taxpayers' money. That means if we won't save the vultures, the population of dogs will increase, and ultimately we have to pay the price. Also, there is a problem that if there are not dogs also, then the carcasses will remain there. And if a carcass remain there itself, if it is thrown outside, it remain there itself, then what will happen? Then it will be infested by lot many flies. Can you count these flies? These are all maggots, and every fly lay hundreds of eggs, and these maggots try to take advantage of the rotting carcass. And the rotting carcass is the best nutritious medium for all kind of pathogen, bacteria, viruses, whatever. You take the name and you can find it there. And that's how, if it remain there, then there are a lot of chances of spreading diseases. If vulture is there, it will search for its food, it will come quickly on the carcasses, and it will feed on it. So even a rotting carcass is there, the vulture will feed on it. And that's how it will control the unwanted or pathogenic things to the humankind. Also, there are chances of
Hello.
the pollution,
Hello.
like pollution. When it is a foul odor, then it is naturally air pollution. When the water will be seeping on the ground, it is a pollution. If the rotting carcass is there and the wastewater is going and seeping to your tube wells, that means water pollution. All kind of pollution will be there. And if you want to avoid that, you have to save the vultures. As I was saying, that I was lucky to see some hundreds birds, but the people in the earlier decades were much more luckier. This photograph was taken by Dr. Gautam Narayan, and it was taken in 80s, and it was taken in Delhi. So Delhi was not only capital of human being, but it was the capital of vultures also. There are hundreds of birds in the front view, as well as there are lot many birds are perching on the buildings. So one thing is clear, as there are so many birds, that's why they were efficiently feeding on the cattle carcasses, cows, buffaloes, whatever livestock was there, they were efficiently feeding on that. And as they were feeding on that, the area used to be free from bad sight and free from odor. And that's why a colony of human being could thrive there happily. So that was the number in India in 80s. With a statistical method, with a mathematical model, we deduced that there could be 4 crore vultures used to be in India in 80s. But now there are hardly 1%. Um, I would like to describe the problem happen with the vultures some 2-3 decades back. So our team was working in Kevaladev National Park, and Dr. Vibhu Prakash was working there, who used to take the count of birds, especially raptors. And he found that the number of vultures were declining. And where he used to get 200 birds, ultimately there was none of them was there. To find out whether there was, that situation was only in Kevaladev National Park or whether it was a nationwide situation, we carried out nationwide surveys. Those were the transects and road, where we compare the earlier population of vultures with the current population at that time. So we traveled in different part of India, and everywhere more than 90% vultures were gone. And so everybody was surprised to find these results. And being scientists, being technically, so we started ruling out the reason one by one. So first, as all of you must be thinking, we also thought that food problem may be there. There may not be food availability for the vultures, but our survey shows that there was food available, and the vulture can travel 100 kilometers in search of food. So that was not the cause of vulture decline. The other important aspect we would like to see was that whether the habitat was all right or not. So some of us started thinking that the dearth of tall trees would be there. But vulture is such a versatile bird that if there are no tall trees, then the vulture can nest on a house, house roof. Especially in the Western India, the vulture nest on Acacia nilotica, Khizidi, and Babul. So vultures are really versatile birds. Whatever tall tree is there, they will utilize it. If we'll travel to the eastern India, then there are really tall trees which are 100 feet tall or more than 100 feet tall. So species like Bombex Siba, Shimul, and Alstonia scholaris, the devil's tree, then Kadam. These are very tall trees, and vulture take advantage of these trees also. So what was the point? That habitat destruction was not the problem for vulture population. The problem was diclofenac, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. It is a painkiller in a simple word. So when this painkiller is given to the cattle and the cattle dies within 72 hours, then this drug remain in the liver and kidney of the cattle. And what is the role of vulture? Vulture is a scavenger. So if such animal is after they thrown outside, then the vulture feed on such animal, and especially if it will feed on the liver kidney of that animal, a high dose will go to the vultures. The vulture cannot, or vulture's body cannot digest the diclofenac, because diclofenac harm the kidney of vulture, and that's how the vulture cannot throw out the uric acid from its body, and ultimately the all the uric acid get deposited on the vital organs of vultures, and that is called as a serious condition, a gout, a kind of gout that take place in the viscera of bird. So it is called as a visceral gout. So this visceral gout was killing our birds, and that's why we conveyed the government of India that such and such condition is taking place. So government, as a first action, put the vultures as a scheduled species. So along with the tiger, elephant, rhino, the vulture was considered as a schedule 1 species. Then we had a big meeting in Parwanu in Himachal Pradesh, where all the stakeholders from different part of India as well as from world came there, gave their own opinions, and we concluded that the veterinary use of diclofenac should be banned, and there should be a captive breeding program for the vultures. So we must convey what are the results from our research, and that's how we convince government that this diclofenac should be banned, and there should be alternative. If we are banning one drug for the even for the veterinary purpose, then we should have some alternative in our hand. So with IVRI, which is a top research institute in the veterinary science, we found that meloxicam is a safest drug, whereas recently we found tolfenamic acid also a safe drug for vultures. I mean, it can be used in the veterinary sector and it won't harm the vultures. Um, Talking about starting a conservation breeding center in India, we have started 4 centers, and those are in West Bengal, Haryana, Assam, and Madhya Pradesh. And we are working on these 3 species: long-billed vulture or Indian vulture, then slender-bill vulture, and white-back vulture. We have bred all these 3 species successfully. All our vulture centers have a common blueprint or similar blueprint. That means we have a fencing, because some of our centers are in the very wild area in Assam or in Bengal. So elephant do visit this center, and that's why we have solar power fencing. Then we have a quarantine aviaries. I hope most of you have heard the word quarantine recently, and that means we have to keep the new vultures separately for some time, and then we take them to the main center. Uh, when we bring them to the main center, then we put them in a smaller room. Although I am calling them smaller room, these are 20 by 20 rooms where the vultures stay there for a few days. After that, we finally transfer them to the colony aviary. As vultures are flock-loving birds, our birds are transferred to a very big aviary. There are no pillar inside, and there is only chain link at the top. So the vulture can enjoy the sunlight, the rain, and they feed together, they stay together, they bath together, they drink together. So they like to do all these other activities, all these social activities together, and that's why these birds are kept together. So this is a view of a this big aviary. We have a camera inside, and you can see the vultures are there. They have the nesting ledges, and the vultures can fly inside. So here the vulture is sunning and perching happily on the nest. Here you can see this is the slender bill vulture. And while feeding also, we do not, sorry, while feeding also, we do not go close to these birds because we want to keep all these birds completely wild, because we are planning for the release of these birds back to the wilderness. So we are feeding them mainly on the goat carcasses, and these birds are fed together and they enjoy feeding together. These are whiteback vultures. They are feeding together. So minimal contact of human being with the birds. We have a small lab where routine tests are carried out. Then office. In the lab, we taste the blood, we taste the excreta, we can store the samples. Um, we are working on these birds, and although, as most of you might have seen the memes that my parents think I am working in wildlife, that means I am handling the tiger cub or lion cub, which is looking so cute, and actually the person is shown sweeping the floor. Similar condition is there, although it is a very wonderful project to save the critically endangered birds. Our main function on a daily basis is to keep the thing clean, because precaution is the better. I mean, you can prevent all kind of diseases can with a simple cleaning cleanliness, and that's why we have kept the aviaries very clean. There is another problem that we cannot enter the aviaries routinely. So once in a month or so, we have to go inside. We have to collect the bones, keep the aviaries clean. Prevention is better than cure. So if there is some disease, then we have to catch the bird, check it, and there are different methodologies. We provide nesting ledges for the birds. You can see the people are fitting the nesting ledges, and they are giving some help to the vultures. Here you can see the vulture is weighed so that we can understand how the vulture is doing. And you must be wondering, as we have started the breeding program, how we brought the birds as a breeding stock. So our main aim was to bring the young birds, because vultures are such a interesting bird that they are very long living birds. Some of the birds can live for more than 70 years. It is expected that they live long, and when a long living bird is there, it is very difficult to ascertain its age. So when you are bringing a young bird, then you can correctly identify its age. So we have brought young birds. So the slender-bill vulture, whiteback vulture nest on tall trees, and from there we have collected the nest with permission of the forest department, and then first we transfer it to the nursery aviary, where all care is taken, where we take care that the birds are not imprinted. That means if we will keep only one bird and feed it ourselves, then the birds start thinking that it is a human being. But if we'll keep them in a small flock, then they will see each other and they will not get imprinted. They have a different diet, and that schedule has to be maintained. And white color cottony ball get converted to a flying machine in 5 months. So this is the after 5 months, the bird can fly freely, it can feed freely, but for maturation, it will require next 4 years, isn't it? So it is a very long and slow process, and that's why vulture conservation is very difficult thing. When a new bird arrives to our center, first we put a microchip. It is a small chip and it is given like a small injection, and that gives it a lifelong number. And there is one plastic ring also. So this number you can read with naked eyes or even with the binoculars. And with that, we can understand what is its history, from where it has come, all that thing. This is a camera. It is fitted in the big aviary, and with that we can monitor our vultures. Winter is the breeding season for our vultures, and we provide them nesting material. The vulture lay egg. Both, as I have said already, both parent take care of the egg as well as the young chick. And as we are going to release this bird back to the wild, we have put small transmitter on their back, and we saw that where the birds are going, and we found that a vulture can travel almost 100 kilometers in one day in search of food. And that's why we have taken up some programs, that is vulture safe zone. That means a circle of 100-kilometer radius we are going to make safe for the vulture, and naturally we need help and support from all of you. For that purpose, we are carrying out awareness programs in schools with different NGOs, with different stakeholders, foresters, and all people. We are carrying out surveys. We are studying the food availability, nesting success, nest survey. All these things are being carried out. We are studying the other causes also, which are harming the vultures, and we are keeping a eye on the pharmacy, the trade of NSIDs, so that we can understand whether misuse of diclofenac is still there, or which drug is common nowadays. So fortunately, taking an example of Assam, we can see that more than 70% meloxicam, that is the safest drug, is utilized. But there are still some other drugs are there. And recently we have found that the nimesulide, ketoprofen, and aceclofenac are also dangerous for vultures. So we are working on that. We are studying the natural behavior of vultures. We are talking with the villagers, and that's how we are working on the vulture conservation program. So this is one of the participation by the local girl. She prepared a gamasa, we call it a gamasa, and that has a vulture. And interestingly, I give this example everywhere, that when I said that you are doing such a wonderful design on the towels, can you view vultures as a design? She said, yes, I would like to do that, but I haven't seen vultures in my life. And we laugh at that moment, and then we took her to the center. We showed her vultures. I gave her design of the vulture, and she prepared wonderful gomasa. It is a very important cloth that is given as a gift to the guest especially. So that is a participation by the local people also. And in nutshell, we should use meloxicam, and nowadays the tolfenamic acid also consider as a good one, and we should avoid using diclofenac, and we should keep ourselves updated from the good information sources. Thank you very much. I think I'm a bit late, but I think question and answer can be started now. I will stop my sharing this.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it was a wonderful session, and being a birds of prey enthusiast myself, I got to know so many new facts and so many interesting facts about vultures, which we usually don't hear on day-to-day basis of our life. So, and I'm sure everybody is in awe of these birds as much as I am. And thank you for telling us about ex situ conservation and captive breeding, which is very new for a lot of people. And they should know the efforts that have been taken by BNHS and everybody working there to help these birds being reintroduced in the wild. So we have just 10 minutes. So I will read out the questions that people have typed in the chat box, and then, sir, you can answer them as and when I read it. I will be only addressing important questions. So the first question is there. Um, so it's from Subhajit Mahanti from Bankura Samilani College, West Bengal. So they are asking, are there any recorded data of the numbers of Himalayan griffon vultures in northeastern Himalayan region of West Bengal at present?
Yes, survey is routinely carried out for vultures, and even ZSI has carried out vulture survey, particularly for the Himalayan griffon in the northern Bengal. So yes, there are some, but see, as these are the birds and these are moving all the time, so you will get estimate of bird particularly staying in that area for that time. Afterward, the bird will move, and it can very easily cross the country's boundaries. So, because in the northern West Bengal, the bird can very easily go to Nepal from Bhutan, India, then again go to Bangladesh and return in one day. So, roughly there are some idea that roughly 1,000 vultures, especially Himalayan griffons, are staying in that area. That is the answer.
Thank you. The next question is by Tejal Shah ma'am. How successful we have been in arresting the decline in vultures, and what is the total number of vultures in India, and which state has the largest numbers?
Again, the same answer is there, because vultures, panchi kare na chakari, you can very easily say that the vultures, you cannot, they are not restricted to some particular area and they don't obey your rules. They are attracted to the foods, and I hastily covered some areas, but you have seen that a vulture can travel at least 100 kilometers very easily. So, talking about what are the good states? Yes, Himachal, Rajasthan, Assam. These are currently good areas where you can go and see the vultures, their nesting, feeding vultures. All these things you can see. These are the better places. But it is really, again, difficult to say that Himachal has 134 vultures, and you cannot guarantee them, two of them going to Uttaranchal or Uttaranchal or Uttarakhand, and from there they will be traveling to UP. So recently there was a wonderful travel by vultures, and as nowadays the science is doing a lot of progress, some vultures were put PTT, and we also have reintroduced birds. So some vultures we have seen are really traveling wonderful distance in one day or 2 days, or some vulture from Nepal have traveled from Nepal to Maharashtra. So you cannot say that vultures are restricted in particular state. Talking about India or Indian subcontinent, you can say that there are really now few vultures, few thousands vultures. The number is frequently published in good journals, and but I will say that they are even less than 1% compared to the 4 crore population in late 80s. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. So I'll take two more questions. So the next
Yeah.
question is a bit on their appearance, I think. It says many vultures don't have feathers on their neck, but some vultures, like king vultures, have feathers grown. So why is there a difference in having feathers and not?
Right. I miss a small point. All the vultures, there are 9 species found in India, isn't it? It is a really wonderful thing. And all of them are going to feed on one cattle carcass, isn't it? So, nature has separated their feeding niche or feeding role. So, some vulture really take their long neck and they can reach to the inner cavity of the uh, cattle carcass or the whatever carcass remaining there. So they have a very featherless long neck, and they can feed on the soft tissues inside, especially the visceral material. While there are some other birds, they take advantage of skin, so they feed on skin. There are some vulture, they take advantage of the muscles, they feed on the muscles. There are some small species like Egyptian vulture. It has a really very small neck, and it is a feathered one, but it is feeding mainly on the tendon or smaller portions, so it is not going to soil its neck. So every bird species has its own role, and accordingly their body has developed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question. Mirza Altaf Beg is asking, sir, we all know about the population decline of vultures by diclofenac. So, in your view, if it hadn't happened, was there a still population decline taking into consideration given the modern day development? Do you think it would be as declining as due to diclofenac?
Yes. If diclofenac would not be there, then there would not be such a drastic decline. See, because nowadays there is decline in all wild animal, all wild birds. But do you know that there was shooting of a small pigeon-like bird named dodo, and because of human, especially the sailors who used to visit that islands, they used to shoot the dodo, and it vanished ultimately. The decline of vulture was faster than even dodo. Within 10 years, it come from 100% to almost 1%. So that much drastic decline was there. Or if you read some scientific paper, the decline rate was 30 to 40%, which is very drastic. And if diclofenac was not, would not be there, then the rate would not be that much drastic. Especially talking for the larger birds, larger animals, the breeding rate is very slow, and that's why any this kind of a danger will completely smash the population. They will bring it to the extinction. That's why diclofenac problem was a thing you must consider as a very big problem, and uh, it is a anthropogenic. It is the best example of anthropogenic problems we have created.
Okay, thank you, sir. We can take one more question. Has government started any new program to save vulture population?
Yes, government is always associated with us, and it has been supporting the vulture breeding centers, and different steps taken or suggested by BNHS. As BNHS has these 4 centers which we are running, there are more 5, 6 small centers which were designated by CZA, Central Zoo Authority, in the different zoos in different states, like one in UP, or in Gujarat, Chakkarbagh, uh, Hyderabad. All these states, they have designated one facility for vultures, and government is also working on that issue, and they will be also doing some kind of conservation breeding, and they will be talking with people and establishing these small centers for conservation breeding purpose.
Okay, so just one last thing. What is the success rate in vulture conservation since decline, and because of the captive breeding, what has been the success rate? Tejal Shah has asked this question.
Success rate I couldn't understand, because success depend on the if she is saying nesting success or breeding success or what, it is a similar rate with that with the wild birds. And unfortunately, in wild, today's success rate is much low, because the parents sometimes are facing some problem in getting food, or persecution, or some other kind of poisons, pesticide poisons. So their success rate is quite low. Compared to that, the breeding success is quite good in the captive breeding, because we are providing them food in a captive space, and naturally that is going to matter a lot. So comparing, I mean, if you want to consider overall the success of the conservation breeding center, it is doing wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We will be ending this session here. For everybody asking, we are going to upload a recorded session on our YouTube channel, and you can anytime write to us at the given email ID that I have put in the chat box. It's envis@bnhs.org in case of any questions. And we also have, like somebody has asked, do you have any identification for the species? We do have posters, and we also provide information on all the birds, so you can write to us. Thank you so much, sir, for this session, and I'm sure everybody has enjoyed as much as we all did. Looking forward to more such sessions, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.